The movie begins with soldiers aboard a helicopter. They're transported to a U.S. Army military base in Afghanistan, nestled within a valley and encircled by similar landscapes. Upon their arrival, military commanders and soldiers warmly greet them before ushering them to their quarters for rest. The following morning, soldiers awaken, venture around the base, and are awestruck by the mountainous scenery. The captain outlines the mission's perils, highlighting the constant threat of attacks from organized terrorists who oppose their presence. A poignant moment ensues when a local Afghan soldier attempts to euthanize a dog due to illness, but U.S. soldiers intervene to save the canine. Unexpectedly, an assault commences, prompting the soldiers to defend themselves and retaliate against the gunfire. After a fierce battle, the terrorists are vanquished, and the attack concludes. Later, a disagreement unfolds between the captain and a soldier over an errant shot, prompting a plea for more precise aiming. Wounded comrades are then tended to and transported to medical care. During the evening, soldiers gather and share a meal, while the unit's captain addresses a drug-addicted soldier, urging him to forsake drugs or face expulsion. The captain grants one final chance, warning of dire consequences if not heeded. The next day, the unit's leader confers with them, underscoring the base's vulnerability to attacks and emphasizing the importance of amicable relations with locals to avert future assaults. The soldiers and commanders proceed to a meeting with key community figures. During the meeting, the captain relinquishes his weapon as a gesture of goodwill. The locals question the soldiers' presence in the valley. The captain explains their mission to disentangle terrorists from the populace, offering financial incentives in exchange for cooperation against attacks. Agreement is reached, weapons are surrendered, and a truce is established. Festivities ensue at the base that night, celebrating the newfound security. However, a robust attack follows the next morning, which is eventually repelled without casualties. Subsequently, the unit captain embarks on an exploratory mission, but the treacherous terrain halts progress. The unit's car descends while signaling for assistance. Military vehicles move, led by one car, followed by the unit captain's. Tragically, his car skids off the road, plummets down a mountainside, and erupts in a fatal explosion, claiming his life and those aboard. Following the captain's burial, duties resume with a new captain's arrival. He acquaints himself with the soldiers and gains an understanding of the situation. An intense attack ensues, prompting exploration, albeit with no terrorist-related findings. Training continues, and a chance encounter reveals an Afghani individual filming the base. The unit captain apprehends him, leading to a meeting with local dignitaries. The captain asserts a threat, revealing the arrested individual's detainment pending innocence confirmation. An Afghan representative accuses the Americans of reneging on promises, citing withheld funds and his son's arrest. The unit captain pledges financial assistance in exchange for cooperation against terrorists. A scene depicts an Afghan soldier forewarning of a subsequent attack, a caution dismissed by American soldiers focused on their mission. Approaching a wooden bridge pivotal to their mission, the unit captain leads the way, joined by a comrade. Tragedy strikes as the bridge detonates mid-crossing, claiming the captain's life. The survivor grapples with shock. During rest, he contemplates suicide, but Officer Roy intervenes, calming him down while securing his ammunition. Subsequently, Officer Roy contacts authorities to arrange a plane to transport the shaken soldier. The subsequent day, the new unit captain arrives and introduces himself, issuing stringent directives. He alters the military base's closing schedule due to prior late closures and urges heightened efforts against terrorists before eventually ordering their departure. On the second morning, an inquiry is initiated into the previous captain's murder. Amid the investigation, an ID card is discovered at the scene and handed over to the new captain, who opts to relinquish the suspect to the judiciary. Soldiers begrudgingly comply with the captain's orders despite their reservations. Meanwhile, terrorists launch a fresh attack on the base while American soldiers rest. The captain is bewildered, yet the soldiers resolutely fend off the assault. Officer Roy effectively counters by launching missiles, neutralizing the threat. Upon the attack's conclusion, the unit captain addresses Officer Roy, expressing dissatisfaction with his independent missile deployment. Tensions escalate as the captain accuses Roy of ammunition depletion. The captain announces an extended base stay and a salary increment to incentivize compliance. While a soldier vents frustration at the captain's behavior, Officer Roy advocates adherence to orders, refusing to alert officials. That night, soldiers observed suspicious mountain movements, followed by missile strikes targeting the base. The assault subsides, leaving the unit captain anxious. By morning, Afghan soldiers arrive with the corpse of a girl, blaming the American forces for her death and demanding compensation. However, an observant soldier deduces that the girl was killed by Afghans long before. The captain intervenes as a dog threatens an Afghan, diffusing the situation by dispatching the dog and providing compensation. In another scene, the soldiers gather in their quarters as the unit captain announces his impending departure from the mission, handing leadership to his assistant. He discloses the mission's 2-week conclusion, and the soldiers decide to keep this information confidential, focusing on survival. Days later, an Afghan soldier warns of an imminent terrorist attack on the military base, though the soldiers remain dismissive. Subsequently, an American soldier spots a multitude of armed men on the mountain. An intense attack ensues, with the soldiers steadfastly defending their position. They were also endeavoring to aid the wounded soldiers. The assault persists for an extended duration until ammunition is depleted. American soldiers find themselves in a challenging and pivotal situation as the battle rages on. Here we observe the soldiers within the vehicle grappling with the exhaustion of their ammunition. Consequently, they signal Officer Roy and beseech his assistance. Officer Roy promptly mobilizes with a group of soldiers to offer aid. The scene unfolds with soldiers attempting to rescue their comrades. However, their efforts prove unsuccessful, forcing them to withdraw. Officer Roy keenly observes a cluster of terrorists attempting to breach the military base, successfully neutralizing them. Subsequently, he reaches out to the appropriate authority, liaising with the responsible leadership to devise a fresh strategy aimed at salvaging them from the ferocious attack. The soldiers take refuge within the protective confines of the military vehicle. Ultimately, they are compelled to disembark from the vehicle to confront the terrorists head-on. Regrettably, some sustain injuries upon exiting. This prompts their retreat, seeking safety once more within the confines of the military vehicle. Their attention turns to a wounded comrade who implores their aid. They find themselves compelled to venture out and extract their comrade, successfully managing to rescue him. The scene shifts to Officer Roy, engaging in fierce combat. Officer Roy becomes acutely aware that they are ensnared on all sides of the base, facing a daunting struggle for survival. However, in the 11th hour, air support materializes, ushering in a barrage of airstrikes against the terrorists. Emboldened, the soldiers muster the courage to counterattack the terrorists. Several soldiers volunteer to aid their injured comrades. Subsequently, much-needed supplies arrive, contributing to the survival of numerous soldiers throughout the battle. Upon the mission's completion, the soldiers are repatriated to their home country. However, some soldiers remain in a state of dread and disbelief due to the grueling battle they endured.